If you think you need to learn traditional crochet before you start learning how to crochet amigurumis, then you gotta watch this video because, darling, you are wrong. A few weeks ago, I asked you to send me any questions about crochet or amigurumis, and some of you decided to send me direct messages on Instagram. Others emailed me some interesting questions. So thank you so much for participating in the poll, sending me those questions, and engaging with me. You guys are the best. But in case you're new here in the channel, I am Bianca from Crocheting. My journey with amigurumis is quite long. I started to crochet amigurumis in 2015. It all started as a stress reliever for my former air traffic controller job, which I did for almost 13 long years, believe me. And little by little, it gained exclusive dedication in my life. So now I'll answer some of the questions that you sent me, and let's get it started. Question number 1. Can a beginner crochet amigurumi? And yeah, absolutely you can. There are so many beginner-friendly amigurumi patterns available out there, written patterns, lots of interesting YouTube tutorials, and of course I have to advertise my own channel here because I do have some beginner-friendly patterns, which is an awesome way to start crocheting amigurumis because you can follow along with the video, you can crochet with me, you can pause the video whenever it's necessary, or you can slow down the video or speed up. So it is a great way to start crocheting amigurumis. Question number 2. Can you use normal yarn for amigurumi? Well, I don't know what do you mean by normal. But my recommendation when it comes to a good beginner-friendly yarn to crochet amigurumis is to avoid those fuzzy, fluffy, beautiful yarns, but they are too complicated for beginners. One of the first things that we need to learn when we are crocheting is to see the stitches. I didn't know what a stitch was. I didn't know how it looked like. And I remember that the girl who taught me, she was like, oh, this is a stitch. And I was, how can I know that this is a stitch or not? It was so hard for me. And then she showed me an increase and I was like, how do I know if this is an increase or not? It was so difficult. Everything is a challenge in the beginning and it's completely normal. Everything that we start doing, I mean, if you start playing the guitar, for example, it will be super hard and everything will be a challenge. So learning to see the stitches was a struggle in the beginning. So when you use a fluffy yarn like this one, it's beautiful. It's so soft. I mean, just touching this yarn is good. But if you learn how to crochet with this type of yarn here, it will be so difficult for you and so challenging to differentiate the stitches. So I don't recommend 100%, don't go to this type of yarn here. This is not good for beginners. There is a whole playlist here in the channel in which you can check later that it's called Best Yarns for Amigurumi, something like that. And I show lots of different brands, different yarn types that you can choose for your projects. So you can watch these videos because maybe in a yarn store that is close to your home or a website that delivers for your address, you can find one of those yarn brands that I mentioned, and they will be very, very good for you to start in your amigurumi journey. My favorite type of yarn is cotton, 100% cotton, or a combination of cotton with acrylic. These are my favorite types of yarns for crocheting amigurumis because it gives a robust aspect on the amigurumi, which is something that I like in my designs. And you can also differentiate the stitches really well. The yarn that I use the most nowadays is this one called France Cotton Mercerized, or the non-mercerized is also okay, from Hobby, because I live in Finland. Hobby is from Denmark, and since the countries are very close, usually shipping is free, depending on the amount of yarn that I buy. So that's why I use this yarn. But in case you live in a country which, I don't know, Hobby does not provide any delivery, and you have other types of yarn like Shapies, Catania from Shakemeyer, Amigurumi from Circulo, or Drops, any kind of cotton yarn or this combination of cotton with acrylic that I mentioned before, you can use the yarns that are available in a yarn store next to you. Don't spend your money like trying to purchase a yarn just because the designer recommends. This is something that I always talk about, and maybe you can check it in the other video that I will leave here somewhere. And since I started talking about yarn types, question number 3 is cotton or acrylic better for amigurumi? Well, I just mentioned that my favorite types of yarn is cotton or a combination of cotton with acrylic. But if you want to compare 100% cotton with 100% acrylic, I would go for the cotton yarn. I know cotton yarn is, it has no stretch. So it has one big issue, because if you crochet for long hours, you'll start to feel pain in your wrists and your fingers. And this is something that we have to be very, very careful, because we don't want any sort of tendinitis or problems in our articulations. So because cotton yarn has like no stretch, you should give yourself a rest from time to time when you're crocheting. I committed this mistake a couple of times. To be honest, I did this last week, so I still feel kind of some pain here in my right wrist because I crocheted for long hours without giving me any sort of rest. I got too excited with the project, which was something that I shouldn't have done. And so now I'm facing the consequences. So if you choose for this type of yarn, which is until now my favorite type of yarn, you should give yourself a rest. And I know some people do prefer to work with 100% acrylic yarn, but this is my personal opinion. I think when you work with this type of yarn, it does not provide the robust aspect on the amigurumi that I like. But this is what I like. It's my opinion. This is the style that I like, okay? You might have another preference, and it's totally fine. And I also think that it depends on the project that you're working. Because if you want to crochet some bunny or a cat or a beautiful fluffy amigurumi, maybe the acrylic yarn is totally fine and you reach a nice result in the end. But if you want a robust aspect, like with a tough structure in the amigurumi and lots of details, and you want to see all these details, I would definitely go to a cotton yarn or the combination of cotton with acrylic that I mentioned before. Look at my white rabbit. I love this pattern that I created, and I'll leave the link for this pattern in the description in case you want to purchase and support my job. But I love this bunny because there are so many details in it, and some of these details would not be highlighted if I used a fluffy chenille yarn or even an acrylic one. So that's why for this kind of work, this kind of project, I prefer to work with 100% cotton yarn. And it looks good, right? I love it. Question number 4. How long does it take to learn amigurumi? Well, it depends on how much time you have to dedicate to it. But I have to say that you will learn how to crochet an amigurumi even faster than you think. When I learned how to crochet amigurumis, and I mentioned back in 2015, there weren't that many tutorials available on YouTube. And I remember that I struggled with lots of techniques like color change. And I always mention it because this was something that really marked my amigurumi journey. There were no tutorials available at that time. And I needed to make a color change in the amigurumi that I was creating, and I didn't know how to do it. It was so ugly, and I spent hours, like days, figuring out how to do it by myself. Nowadays, everyone uses the same technique, which was the one that I found out by myself, and I'm so proud of discovering it because everything was new back then for me. I didn't know how to crochet. There weren't tutorials available on the internet, so how am I supposed to do that? I have no one to teach me, and I had to figure out myself. But if you're starting amigurumis right now, you don't have to face the same struggles that I did. Everything is here on the internet already, and I have so many tutorials here on my channel that are great channels on YouTube. But again, I will advertise my work because I'm working hard on this channel. You can type like Crocheting color change, or I don't know, Crocheting stuffing, because there are so many tips here in the channel. Like when you crochet amigurumi and you face any difficulties, just type it here on YouTube and you'll see that there is a tutorial available. And in case you face any sort of difficulties and you cannot find, please send me a message and I will love to create this video. But my first amigurumi took me like, I don't know, a week or maybe less to do. I didn't have too much time. I was doing it in my spare time because back then I was still working as an air traffic controller, and I had like 2 jobs because I was an English teacher and an air traffic controller. So if I was not working, I was working. And it was crazy. My background is crazy, but I used to work a lot. I didn't have too much free time, so it took me a little longer than usually it takes the average people to crochet an amigurumi. But in case you want to start, just keep in mind that it does not take that long to crochet your first amigurumi ball. And I mean, the first ball that you do, there are so many things to master, like holding a crochet hook, holding the yarn, wrapping the yarn in your hands. Everything is so challenging. So it does take a while in the beginning, but you can manage to do it. And I ended up doing my first ball that actually looks like an onion. It's funny, but it's not round. It's so ugly. But I have to say, if I manage to do it, you can do it too, for sure. Question 5. Is crocheting a form of therapy? And yes, definitely. And this is how I started. I said it in the beginning. And not only me, I hear so many beautiful stories. Sometimes people send me messages here on YouTube, and some people had more intimate stories to share, so they sent me emails. And I always get very emotional when I read these things because I know the power that this craft has. And I know so many people who overcame some difficulties in their lives with crochet because they were facing, like, I don't know, health issues, some family problems, they were burned out at their jobs. And all these people, they got better because they added crochet to their routines. Of course, this is not the only reason, but counting the stitches and concentrating in this work, which is something that we start doing immediately when you start to crochet, can bring so many benefits. So really, it is a form of therapy. In this other video here, I shared my personal story. This was one of the hardest videos that I have ever recorded. But in case you get curious and you want to watch it, I'll leave the link in the description, and it's also here so you can watch it later. I am proud of this video. The courage that I had together to create it. So yeah, you can watch it later. Question number 6. Should I yarn under for amigurumi? Well, this is a matter of preference, I have to say. Both techniques, like yarn under or yarn over, are great. They have like their differences and they serve different purposes. I myself prefer to do the yarn under technique. This was the natural way that I was wrapping the yarn in the crochet hook when I first started, and I like the aspect of it in the end. I have a friend, her amigurumis are so beautiful, but she doesn't like the yarn under technique. She told me, I don't like this X shape, I like my V shape. My amigurumis are beautiful that way. And she's absolutely right. Her amigurumis are beautiful with the V shape. So this is her preference. But for me, the X shape, I like it more. I don't know, it's a matter of preference. But in case you want to learn the differences between these 2 stitches, when you should use one or when you should use the other, what are the differences between them, I don't want this video to be that long, so I will leave the link in the description so you can check it later in case you're interested in deciding if you're going to do the yarn under or yarn over technique. Okay, question number 7. What is the easiest crochet plushie? Well, I would say that the easiest crochet plushie, like the easiest amigurumi, is a ball. It's an amigurumi, and it's the easiest one that we can do. Like this one. This is how we start with amigurumis, right? We crochet balls, so the easiest one is a ball. But if you want like a toy, an animal, a project, well, I cannot say which one is the easiest because there are lots of beginner-friendly patterns available, and there are some patterns here in the channel as well. So you can go to the playlist here in the channel, and there is one called Free Patterns, and you can check the ones that you like because, yeah, the patterns that I share here are quite easy, and whenever it's a beginner-friendly, it's mentioned that this is designed for beginners, so you can check it. Especially this one here, my cute, beautiful octopus, because this one you can crochet like, of course, if you're a beginner, it won't be that fast. But just so you know, I crocheted this one in like 15 minutes. Yeah, the longer it took me to crochet was like 18 minutes. So this is a very beautiful, easy project and beginner-friendly as well. Well, I still have more 3 questions to answer, but this is the moment that you will give me a thumbs up in case you haven't done that so far, and subscribe to my channel so you won't miss any new tips, tutorials, Q&A, or whatever I bring here, because every week there's a new video here in the channel. Okay, so let's go back to question number 8. Do you crochet amigurumi inside out? Ooh, no, I don't. No, I don't crochet my amigurumis inside out. Actually, oh, I don't have it here. I once crocheted an amigurumi inside out because I wanted to take a picture to show my Instagram followers actually the difference between them. But this amigurumi is in Brazil, it's not here in Finland. And I didn't like it. I didn't like my amigurumi inside out. This is a style of crochet. There is a girl, and I love her work. She only crochets inside out, and her work is amazing. It's so detailed, so beautiful. And there are lots of people who crochet. I mean, not that many, because yeah, right, I said a lot of people, but I only remembered like 2 or 3 people that crochet this type of inside out amigurumis, and they are amazing. But I tried myself and I didn't like it. I didn't like how it looked like in the end. I prefer to see the right side of the magic ring in my amigurumis. But since this person sent me the questions about crocheting inside out, I have to answer something related to it. That once a person asked me, she liked her amigurumis inside out. And this girl asked me, can I crochet your pattern like the entire amigurumi and simply turn it like inside out to show the inside part of the amigurumi? And my answer is no, especially if you have like color changes and things like that. Because every time we do color changes, you see the connection of the yarn inside the amigurumi, or I don't know, any kind of knots and things like that when you have to join threads. So no, you cannot do this. The technique to do it is different. And I recommend you follow designers who work like this, who have this style of working inside out. I have one amigurumi here to show you an example. Like, I won't tell you what it is, but it's the only opened amigurumi that I have here to give you the example. So this is the right side of the amigurumi. This is the face of the amigurumi that I'm creating. So if I want to show the other side, I cannot simply do this. The amigurumi won't work, especially again if you have color changes or other details. If I want my amigurumi to show only this part, the inner part of the amigurumi, I would have to crochet it like this. So yeah, you cannot simply turn the amigurumi inside out. It does not work. Question number 9. Yes, so many people sent me this message, and I think I receive this message like every day. Is your book going to be available in English? And oh my goodness, so many people ask me that, really. And I am flattered. I'm so happy that so many people got interested in it. And I always receive beautiful messages about it. Really, thank you. You have no idea how much it means to me. For now, it's only available in German, but if anything changes, don't worry, I will let you know. I will create a video, I will post about it. Don't worry, I will let you know, guys. So, question number 10, and our last one. Should I learn crochet before amigurumi? No, it's not necessary. I tried crochet when I was a kid because my grandmother knows how to crochet, but she does not crochet amigurumis because it's quite new, and my grandmother is almost 90 years old. Thank God she's still alive. But the first contact that I had with this craft was with my grandmother when I was a kid. And she taught me how to hold the crochet hook. Although her grip is different from mine, I do the pencil hold, she does the knife hold. I talked about it before already. And my grandmother crochet clothes. She has no idea. Her stitches are quite loose. She does not know how to crochet an amigurumi. But I did this when I was like a little kid, and for like a long time, I didn't touch the crochet hook ever again. So although I had this first contact with crochet when I was a kid, I consider that I crochet for like 9 years when I started crocheting amigurumis, because this was the moment that I decided to take it seriously. So yeah, I learned how to crochet amigurumis first, although I tried back when I was a kid. But I learned crocheting a bow, the ugly onion that I mentioned before, and then I went to a poke bow and etc. But yeah, I started crocheting the bow. I started trying the magic ring and the single crochet. And I know lots of people who started crocheting amigurumis. So it's not mandatory that you have to learn the traditional crochet before you crochet a bow, before you crochet amigurumi. But if you want to learn how to crochet blankets, pillows, clothes, perfect, go for it. If you want to learn how to crochet amigurumis, you don't have to learn how to crochet the traditional crochet style. And I don't know if this is the best word for it, but this is usually how people understand traditional crochet versus amigurumi. Yeah, although I don't know if this nomenclature is the best. No, it's not necessary. If you want to learn how to crochet amigurumis and this is the only thing that you like, okay, go for it. Just crochet amigurumis. But of course, if you learn how to crochet garments, you learn new stitches and new techniques, it will improve your repertoire and you'll be a better crafter in the end. Every time I learn another craft, like I was trying punch needling, I know how to knit, and I've done artistic calligraphy course, which is something that I really like, by the way. So all the different crafts and arts that you try, it makes you a better crocheter because it's something that you add value in your work. So of course, the more you learn, the better you get. But no, you don't have to learn one basic traditional crochet to go to the amigurumi. Well, and that's it for today. If you still have more questions about crochet and amigurumis that you want to send me, I will love to answer you. And maybe, who knows, if I receive too many questions, I can create a Q&A part 2. I would love to do that. Maybe I can record outside or something like that. So please let me know if you're interested, if you have more questions, because I would love to do that for you. And now I will leave you with this other video here because I am sure you are going to like it too.